Hey everyone, Tin Man here. While mono blue might be all the rage these days, I'm here to tell you that the best way to play monocolor is not blue, but red. This deck is remarkably strong and in my opinion is certainly a tier 1 deck. I've maintained an 80% win rate in constructed gauntlets over 150 games, and I'm currently at skill rating 71 using mainly this deck. So why should you go mono red? It's mainly about consistency. You never have to worry about hero colors, and you never have to worry about your opponent killing just one hero and locking you out of half of your deck. Since you have so many more red heroes, you also have many options when it comes to Primal Roar targets. This is critical because Primal Roar is such an amazingly powerful late game card, and casting it in the right spot at the right time will win so many games on its own. This deck has very powerful early game with heroes and creeps, resiliency through the mid game using health items and even more creeps, and then you can use initiative from Kraken's Shell to deny opponents using Primal Roar, Enough Magic, Berserker's Call, and Tidehunter's Ravage. Time of Triumph and siege damage from Red Mist Maul close out the game. So let's talk a little bit about the hero choices. Axe, Bristleback, Legion Commander, and Beastmaster are heroes that you always want to play. The first three are simply the best heroes for fighting the opponent, and Beastmaster's Primal Roar is a big payoff for playing mono red. The fifth hero is a bit more flexible. I've tried Tidehunter, Urza, and Centaur Warrunner. I like Tidehunter the best because his active is extremely useful against all decks, but especially against blue decks. They tend to have smaller board presence, and so it's likely that you'll hit their heroes with his stun. And one extra turn is completely devastating against blue decks. Additionally, you want to include initiative cards in your deck anyway, so the fact that his signature card gives you initiative means that you can clear up those spots for more useful cards. Urza is better against green decks, where he can get multiple hits of his passive on the same hero and doesn't die right away himself. His signature card, Enrage, is lackluster against most decks, but helps out against opposing red decks. Centaur Warrunner is fine against opposing red decks, since his signature card, Double Edge, can be cast on the opposing heroes who are being blocked by creeps to give them -8 armor. But overall, he's much worse versus the other colors, where his signature card is just a situational burn spell. So let's talk about some of the core cards of the deck. Bronze Legionnaire, Mercenary Exiles, Stonehall Elite, and Legion Standard Bearer. You want to play the full set of these early creeps, since gaining and maintaining early board control is critical to your game plan. If you need to cut some of them, I would cut Mercenary Exiles first, as they tend to be the weakest. Legion Standard Bearer is one of my favorite cards because it allows creeps to trade up into heroes, or just push lots of damage. He even gets crazier when you put two side by side. Next up, we've got Marrowfell Brawler, Ogre Conscript, and Red Mist Pillager. Once you get into the mid game, you're going to want more creeps to keep the pressure up and push tower damage. I like Marrowfell Brawler a bit more than Ogre Conscript, as they fill a similar role, but because of how much more health Marrowfell Brawler has, he gets the nod. But both are fine. Red Mist Pillager is a card that I'm happy to have one of, but I rarely want more. Normally there's at least one lane, there's at most one lane where he would really shine. And even then, they're not the hardest card to answer with all the AoE running around, or even just having unlucky creep spawns. In the late game, you have powerful spells like Time of Triumph and Enough Magic. You always want 3 Time of Triumph, and I think 2 Enough Magic is sufficient. Next, the more flexible cards, the ones that you can play around with the numbers however it suits you. Smash Their Defenses is a card I normally like 2 of, but since it's so good against blue decks, but it's fairly lackluster against other red decks, and most versions of red-black, so I don't want to overload on it. Dresden Standard is great to keep heroes and creeps alive in early combats, which snowballs into more damage and more board control. It can be a fairly weak effect, only adding 1 damage or preventing 1 per combat, but a unit that survives at 1 health is still good enough to fight the next turn. Spring the Trap is a great cross-lane play in the mid to late game. I like 1 or 2 of them. If you're missing some Time of Triumph due to budget issues, consider adding an extra one for more late game. Burning Oil is a card that I don't play in my normal list, but it seems reasonable, and I've seen others play it. It can devastate a blue deck that uses Dimensional Portal or Prey on the weak if they don't have Damaging Maul to answer it. It also has uses against red-black aggro decks that use Disciple of Nevermore. It's a little worse versus those decks, as they often have Smash Their Defenses to answer it, and since it would be our only improvement, they won't be smashing anything else. There's also an alternative build that was played in the Replay Open qualifiers this past weekend. This list did fairly well, and it's much more focused on early game, packing Rising Anger, Timbersaw, Centaur Warrunner, and Poised to Strike to have the most low-cost cards possible. It's predicated on winning the early game consistently and then closing out the game before things like Primal Roar or Time of Triumph really matter. I cannot speak to the effectiveness of this deck, as I have not tested it extensively myself, but I know one player did well with it, so maybe there is something to this version. Look for some more videos of me trying this out coming soon. A quick side note on another alternative card, Routed. Some people have asked why I don't include this card, and I see other mono red lists using it. I don't really like it, as it requires some setup and uses mana on a lane when you would probably prefer to be impacting the board instead. If you draw it a turn or two late, it is essentially is a blank, as the rest of the game will be over before it's relevant. I'd rather have a card that is always useful and impacts the board, like Marrowfell Brawler or Ogre Conscript. Next, let's talk about some general gameplay tips. In the early game, try not to use Duel early on, even on something like Luna. It's far more impactful later in the game. Mercenary Exiles are better on later lanes, so you have a better chance to generate gold that round. Stonehall Elite and Bronze Legionnaire are great on a lane that has a Kana, or lane that has lots of creeps to keep them under control. During the mid game, buy health items and healing items very highly. You want to keep your heroes in the fight. Try to time the opponent's deaths so that they don't respawn on critical turns. For example, a blue hero respawning on mana 6 to set up a key annihilation. You can use your enough magics to deny powerful plays on those critical turns, or to deny a play like Stars Align and just strand their mana ramp. You can also put Tidehunter in a mid lane, or in a lane in the mid game to stall, and then buy a Blink Dagger to blink him to a critical lane to use Ravage later on. In the late game, you want to be playing for initiative. It's so important. You have powerful plays like Primal Roar, Ravage, and Berserker's Call, but they need initiative to work the best. Also note that this deck rarely kills the Ancient, so make sure you have pressure on at least 2 lanes in order to win. Let's wrap up the deck tech with some matchup-specific tips against the most popular decks. Mono Blue. This is probably the most popular deck at the moment, and Mono Blue has a fairly weak early game, but a devastatingly powerful late game. You don't want to use your duels early, as we just mentioned, as they're much more powerful later to stop that key hero from using a key spell. You want to maintain pressure on all 3 lanes. If your opponent only has to fight in 2 lanes, they'll have more than enough removal and tempo to beat you. Don't get discouraged by a Kana protecting one lane with an endless stream of creeps. Keep pushing that lane, and deploy most of your Bronze Legionnaires and other creeps to that lane. You can still take their tower after your tower goes down, because they will rarely want to annihilate the lane with a lot of their own creeps in it. Use Red Mist Maul and Time of Triumph Siege to push through that damage. In the mid game, you want to think about where and when you need to duel and Berserker's Call, and pre-play weapons on those heroes so that they can fight first action and kill the opposing hero. Although it's not in our item deck, Vesture of the Tyrant is extremely strong against these blue decks, so hold it and buy it if it comes up in the secret shop and your gold allows for it. Try to keep your towers above 20 health, the magic number for Bolt of Damocles. If you can stop their chip damage to keep it above 20, do it. But don't worry if it drops below 20, then you can ignore the chip damage. Finally, remember that against blue, it's a race against mana. Prioritize damage to towers over hero kills. Their heroes will respawn and stall you out. Use your spells and creeps to push tower damage first, rather than just racking up kills. Next, let's talk about red-green ramp. This matchup is a bit tougher, since you don't run them over early, and they can ramp out their powerful late game before you. Use your smash their defenses and enough magics to deny that mana ramp. Cards like Unearthed Secrets and Mist of Avernus are lower priority to get smashed. If they get a ramp unanswered, quickly abandon that lane and race in the other 2 lanes. If you waste resources trying to fight an Emissary of the Quorum, you won't be able to kill the other 2 lanes in time. Finally, in the late game, use your Primal Roar to displace their heroes, especially those with Time of Triumph, to push through those final blows. Finally, let's talk about red-black aggro. This covers any of the Sorla Khan-based aggro decks, but also some of the tips apply to other red-black decks, like some of the Lich decks out there. Make sure you can test every lane. The Sorla Khan decks will quickly kill an Ancient if you leave them alone. This next one is a big one. On the first deployment phase, do not put your hero in a lane that has a black hero like Bounty Hunter or Phantom Assassin if you have a later lane that can die to a gank. They will put their Sorla Khan in that later lane, gank your only hero in that lane, and now you have a 2v0 in lane 1 or 2, but then they have a 2v0 in a later lane, and they will race you. Even outside of the first few turns, be wary of cross-lane plays like gank, pick off, or march the machines. Buy and use health items to keep your hero up and contesting the board. Finally, stalling a tower kill for a turn, perhaps by sacrificing a hero or using an extra spell or creep, is normally worth it, especially on the earlier turns, say mana 7 or earlier. This denies them a turn of ancient pressure and can completely deny the ancient kill if it's used late enough. Finally, good luck. I hope that you guys try this deck out. It is absolutely tier 1. Like I said, I've had an 80% win rate, and I've climbed up to constructed skill rating 71, all with mono red. You can check out my Twitch stream at twitch.tv/tinman354, and feel free to ask me any questions here, on Twitter, or on Reddit. Make sure you check out the written version in the description down below, along with the deck list links, and thank you so much for watching, and check out some gameplay videos on my channel as well. See you next time.